What is up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Jermaine Main on MMA, and today, ladies and gents, we are going to check out this video from Cloister about the harsh reality of Gervonta Davis versus Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach Jr., all right? That guy was a beast, okay? Beast. Looked phenomenal last night. I've never really been the biggest fan of Gervonta Davis. There's certain fighters like Tank and Errol Spence. I think they're more hype of just being real niggas. And they're not fighting real opponents, you know what I'm saying, for the most part. So that's when I saw a real nigga like Bud coming. I was telling everybody he's going to dominate that nigga. I was unfamiliar with Freddie Roach. Lamont Roach Jr. I called the nigga Freddie Roach. I was unfamiliar with this nigga's game, as I said. Lamont Roach Jr. last night looked phenomenal, ladies and gents. He was putting it on Tank. Tank took a knee, all right? He took a knee, which in boxing should be considered a knockdown. The ref started to count, but Tank was like, nah, man, let's keep going. And then he just stopped the count and didn't call it a knockdown. Should have been a knockdown. But what I also learned from watching Luke Thomas in his live stream, I went back and watched what he was saying about the fight as it was happening, because he's doing like a watch along. And they were mentioning how Tank took a break. He took a knee and then walked over and had his coach wipe grease off his face, right? Which is illegal. You can't do that. He took a knee. It should have been ruled a knockdown. And the second they wiped him with that towel, that's a disqualification. He should have lost the fight right there. But the fight ended in majority draw. And had a point at least been taken from the knee, or just it should have been a 10-8, right? Unless you gave that round to Davis, and I feel like a lot of people did, because he came out crazy after he took the knee. He came out ready to fight. Started just coming for Freddie. He started coming for Lamont, you know what I'm saying? He started coming for Roach. But Roach was like, his defense, he had the Philly shell. His defense was beautiful, all right? Lamont Roach Jr., all right? I will, like Bilal Muhammad, I will try to remember the name Lamont Roach Jr. That dude was dope as fuck last night. But Tank should have lost. It was majority draw in the end. Had it been ruled a 10-8 in that round because of the knee, Roach wins that fight. It was majority draw, but had it been scored properly, had the count been taken, had it been counted as a knockdown, because he took a knee. He got hit with a punch, took a knee, went to the corner. Insane. But then when they touched him, he's officially disqualified. I saw Bud. We're going to get into this Cloister video, but I saw Bud tweeting about it. That was hilarious. Maybe I got to do a separate video about that, but let's get into this Cloister video.
Alright fellas, Tank vs Roach just quickly went from a hugely underrated fight to one of the biggest stories in the sport. Tank Davis disappointed many of us the fans by once again dragging a champion up from the division down below instead of finding a champion from his own division, in a move which all backfired, and resulted in the first blemish to his perfect record. In what was a bout which almost everyone wrote off Lamont Roach, he proved everyone wrong, good. And for Tank, his aura of invincibility has faded. So we need to talk about what just happened in the fight, talk about the hugely controversial knee, as well as what happens now. But just quick.
Yeah, people are only talking about the knee. They need to talk about what happened after the knee, because that qualifies for disqualification. So that's what's most important. The knee, it should have been ruled a knockdown. But the second they touched their fighter and wiped his face off, a minute into the fight, it's illegal.
quickly, if you love boxing, you're in the right place. My name's Cloister and I make videos on everything boxing. So make sure to subscribe and I'll always keep you in the loop. Now for this Tank fight globally, there just wasn't really any hype at all. For a bloke who claims he's the face of boxing, the numbers of the Ben Eubank press conference were massively higher than Tank's. Massive for UK boxing, but for a man who's meant to be the face of boxing in America, it was all a bit of an underwhelming promotion. And this lack of hype could be put down simply to his opponent choice. Over the last couple of years, his opponent choices have been mediocre, mainly avoiding many of the fights that the fans want, except for the Garcia fight, which of course he was weight drained in. And to a certain point, I can't blame him. If he's going to make similar money against Martin than he is against Shakur, why wouldn't you take the fight that you think is easier? However, the fans eventually will get sick of you fighting fighters that especially the casual fan doesn't recognize. The casual fan, or even the regular fan, doesn't really know who Lamont Roach is.
Yeah, I didn't know.
It's a great fight for the state of New York, but really outside of that, with increasing pay-per-view prices, does the average fan want to buy an $80 pay-per-view for something like this? I don't know about that. And although I'm sure that this event would have been a financial success, you can tell fight by fight, the hype is kind of just dwindling.
You know, part of me was like, Freddie Roach got a dark skin son.
This lack of promotion just kind of ended up with this event sneaking up on a lot of us. Even I thought leading to this fight though, similar to many, I thought Roach was a decent fighter, but Tank would end up fighting a home eventually for the left. But clearly, that didn't end up happening. Once the bell went, it started as a typical Tank fight. Tank not doing much, and him doing the best to download information about his opponent. Usually, most of Tank's opponents come out blazing, because they think, well, these are easy rounds to bank, may as well be super active and easily bank the rounds. Although, all they do is give Tank enough information to then press them later in the fight. Roach did the opposite. He played Tank at his own game, and really for the first 5 rounds, it was a whole lot of nothing. By the 6th, they started to open up a bit more, yet Roach was taking Tank's power and didn't seem too phased by it. By the 8th, Roach even wobbled Davis with a counter right hand, and by this point in the fight, Roach was getting more and more comfortable with trading with Davis, and he wasn't really fearing his power. The 9th started with a hugely controversial moment. Davis ended up taking a knee.
He's working that boy.
And have his corner wipe his face. This
Illegal.
somehow was ruled a no knockdown, with them saying, oh, Tank got something in his eye. All good to stop, mate. That's horrific officiating. There's no timeouts in the sport of boxing. Just because you got something in your eye doesn't allow you to stop and it be ruled a no knockdown. It should have been at least ruled a knockdown. He took a knee. That's the rules. But at the end of the day, it's really, you just have to put it down to, well, it's boxing.
I love the passion.
Should we be surprised? But through the next couple rounds, Roach did end up getting more and more comfortable, throwing out combinations more freely with less fear of the counter.
It's fucking that
Davis
dude
in the
up.
late rounds was also quite inaccurate, with Roach taking advantage of this and being able to counter Davis. In the last round, Davis did improve a bit, but it should have been too little too late. But as the scores were read, it was a majority draw. I think most people's scorecards I've seen in the community had Roach up. It was an incredibly close fight, but if the knee was ruled a knockdown like it should have been, Roach would have won. Personally, I had Roach winning the fight by a couple rounds.
It's funny because when I mentioned Luke Thomas and I watched his live stream afterwards, and after the 12th round, he was like, "Oh my, ladies, did he just do that?" And he was like, "My heart says because it's boxing, no, he did not." And he was 100% right, because it's boxing. No, he did not.
Now, let me know how you scored it down below. Yet, what's next for the both of them? This draw leaves us with a bit of a messy situation. Of course, they both have indicated that they want the rematch. For the Roach camp, looking back, they would be feeling robbed by the decision and the officiating. The move they would want to make instantly is the rematch. But they do have that belt at super featherweight. Is the WBA going to allow them to hold on to that belt as they chase the rematch? I'm not so certain. The Roach camp, I'm sure, would be willing to vacate this belt to chase the big money rematch. And the Tank camp, well, they'll want their get back, and I'm sure they'll pursue the rematch also. I don't think that they can blame this performance on whatever was going on with the grease in his hair. What I think will come to light is more deeper problems. Was it a problem with a coaching shakeup? Was it a problem with Tank's discipline? I guess as time goes on, we'll have a clearer picture. Additionally, there'll be questions of, did Tank take this fight lightly? Through the whole promotion, we didn't really see the typical Tank Davis come out at all, and potentially this lack of motivation resulted in a mediocre performance. But really, there shouldn't be any excuses, and only applause for the performance that Roach put up. But after, as it was said in the post-fight press conference, it doesn't seem like this rematch will happen next, with Tank wanting it but saying it might happen in the new year. In the post-fight press conference, Tank almost kind of confirmed that if he had won, he was going to call out
March
Jake
2nd.
Paul, and that would have just been a bit sad for the sport. And I worry that could be truly next. I hope it isn't.
Why
Paul,
next year?
But it's clear that something is already planned, with Tank saying we should shortly hear about it.
Wait, hold on.
He made it pretty clear that they don't think that this rematch is going to fall. And that would have just been a bit might happen in the new year.
What did he say?
Motivation was applause for the performance that Roach put up. But after, as it was said in the post-fight press conference, it doesn't seem like this rematch will happen next, with Tank wanting it but saying it might happen in the new year. In the post-fight press conference, Tank almost kind of confirmed that if he had won, he was going to call out Jake Paul. And that would have just been a bit sad for the sport. And I worry that could be truly next. I hope it isn't, Paul.
Why was
but it's
he
clear
there?
that something is already planned, with Tank saying we should shortly hear about it. But he made it pretty clear that they don't think that this rematch is going to be next. If a man can dream, hopefully it's a matchup against one of the bigger names in the division. Give me a Shakur, I'll even take a Keyshawn Davis. Anything but a Jake Paul. It is unfortunate though that a rematch doesn't seem possible next. Yet on the other side for Roach, here's a lot more options if the Tank fight isn't next. Shakur's already highlighted that he would offer him a fight. I don't really want to see that, but he could just move down to his current weight class and defend his belt. But for Roach, he looks big at 135, and I reckon he could find a home in the lightweight division. But I want to see the rematch over a potential Shakur fight. Overall, the smartest move I reckon for Tank is to take the rematch and rewrite his wrongs. But in the coming days, I guess we'll find out if there's truly another fight organised, or if these plans will be scrapped so the rematch can happen. This fight though will stand as a bit of a wake-up call. Tank was made to look a lot more human tonight, and his aura of invincibility has faded a bit. Roach put up a fantastic performance and should have gotten the win, but that's how boxing goes. I'm not surprised with the result. I think Roach has gained a lot of fans, and Tank will have to go back to the drawing board with his strategy. It's clear when he gives up those early rounds and can't back it up in the second half, he's in a world of trouble. It'll be fascinating to see what happens next over the next coming days, and I'll make sure to keep you covered if there's any major news. But for the moment, I want to hear what you guys think. What did you
Shout out to Cloister. That was a dope video. Loved the passion. Loved the passion in there. That was a hype fight. All right. I didn't expect it to be that hype. I was tuning in just trying to see, like, oh, okay, there's a fight on. Like, I just got off work and I put the fight on. And I think I put it on, like, I didn't start it. I think I started in the 5th. I didn't start in the beginning. I saw Luke Thomas was streaming and I saw he was like, man, not much has happened at all. And I was like, man, let's just put it on. Let's just watch it. And then it got good. All right. Like after that point on, pretty much it got really good. And I really enjoyed that fight. I started jumping in the group chat to calf kick guys like, yo, these boys is boxing. You know what I'm saying? It's going down right now. And everybody's like, yo, that was like one of the greatest boxing matches I've seen since I can remember. That was it had the drama. It had everything in there. It was very cinematic. It was a great experience. Yeah, I love that fight. Big fan of Lamont Roach Jr. Now I will remember the name. I know I started out saying Freddie Roach, but it's Lamont Roach Jr. And he put it on Tank. All right, I thought Tank was gonna get knocked out. He put it on that boy. I thought he was gonna get knocked out. I would love to see the rematch, but if we got to do Jake Paul next, it is what it is. But thank you guys so much for being here. Let me know what you think about that fight in the comments. Let me know what you thought about Cloister's video. But let me know. And head on over to Cloister's channel. Give him a like. Give him a subscribe. But let me know what you thought about that fight. Should it have been favored? It should have been ruled a knockdown when Tank took the knee. Should have been ruled a disqualification when Tank's corner wiped his face, wiped the grease out of his face, out of his eyes. He said the grease was burning his eyes. Which is like, yeah, okay. As a black man who had braids back in the day, if you sweat with that shit, it will get in your eyes. But my guy, you decided to put that on knowing you were about to get into a boxing match and sweat. Like, and then you went and did something illegal and wasn't penalized for any of it. He did multiple illegal things there. Was not penalized for it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys for being here once again. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I will see you guys when I see you guys. I'll holla.